And we welcome you from Hobart. It's the 29th of December, day 4. We're based in the Rolex village, the race village here at Kings Pier in Hobart. And we're looking at magnificent shots of ecstasy, currently off South Arm, in the Derwent River and closing on the finish of the race. Magnificent scenes here in Hobart. They're certainly getting a nice southerly help coming up the river, and quite a few boats are in the river at the moment. So just recapping, 11 boats have finished. Happy Wanderer is about to finish. We have had 30 retirements so far. Mondo retired overnight. So at sea at the moment, still 63 boats, including 14 double-handers. Active again, finished just before 1 o'clock today, and just under 3 days, her elapsed time. And earlier Ocean Crusaders, Jaybird, the other female skipper, they finished about 3¼ hours ahead of Active again. Hotsar, Bruce Taylor, has finished, the most experienced crew in the whole race. And as we saw, Happy Wanderer about to cross the finishing line. Ecstasy, Denali are in the river. Arwen has just passed the Iron Pot. Mistral is approaching the Iron Pot, the leading double-hander. And also Denali, Cocody and Volstar, Yeah Baby are now in the river. So Peter Shipway joins me. There's a lot of activity going on. It's going to be busy this afternoon, Shipper.
Yeah, good afternoon, Gordon, everyone. Yes, it is going to be a lot of action after a little docile 24 hours or so. The boats come in dribs and drabs, but they're finishing fast now. They've got good breeze down around the Iron Pot and the entrance to the river, but it's a little bit slow once they get right close to the finishing line. But at the moment, we're going to see a lot of finishes, I would think, probably in the next 4 or 5 hours.
Well, yes, Active again was the second female skipper to finish the race, and they finished just before 1 o'clock. This boat from the Wynnum Manly Yacht Club in Queensland, Evie Haseldine, caught up with the two owners.
And I'm here on board Active again with Stephen and Stephanie Cairns, who have just arrived in Hobart this afternoon. A few of the crew have had a swim in the Derwent actually here on the dock. Stephanie, can you tell me a little bit about your experience in doing Hobarts?
This is the 4th race we've done, and this has been one of the best crews that we've actually had that we've put together, and credit to the crew because they've pulled it all through. So really happy with everybody to make it happen for us. So yeah, you've got to trust your crew and go with it.
Yeah, amazing. And some trivia for you back in the studio, Gordon and Shippers. It was actually Stephanie's great uncle that won the race in 47 and 48, and that boat is actually docked here at Constitution Dock. I guess it runs through the family a little bit.
We both started our sailing in Hobart. Started at Sandy Bay Sailing Club, and Stephanie sailed at Lindisfarne, and I sailed at Kingston Beach. And it was those early formative years which helped get a love for the sport.
I have one last thing to ask about. You're missing a starling on the back of the boat.
Yes.
But you managed to get here without it.
Yeah.
I was speaking to your navigator before, and he just said he went off by what he could see.
Yeah, well, we were off grid for quite a while, so it was old-fashioned navigating, and great credit to Andrew for what he did. It was marvellous.
So congratulations to you all. Great feat. 10th over the line for Active again.
Yes, and we had a really strong representation from Queensland this year, but well done to Stephanie Cairns, who's the second female skipper to complete the race, and also in a boat over 50 feet. Terrific effort.
Absolutely, yeah. And see them have a good finish up the river. They had good breeze down when they entered the river and got them home pretty quickly.
Now, what about Hotsar from the Royal Yacht Club of Victoria? The Taylors, father and son, another amazing performance. They've been so close on many occasions, but this has been a stunner from them, Peter Shipway.
Yes, it looks as though they'll probably win their division again in the IRC division. Fabulous performance. This boat, on its 17th trip to Hobart, look at her, she's roaring up the river here under reaching Spinnaker. You can see the breeze, plenty of breeze, but it's not all plain sailing, as we'll see in a moment, I think, as she's coming up here. The breeze is starting to get lighter as she's approaching the finish, but that crew, over 300 Hobart races between them. This boat was second, as I said, in 2014 to Wild Rose, which was formerly Wild Oats, and raced as Wild Oats in this race. Bruce was third in his division last year and possibly could win his division this year. That's Bruce steering on his 40, how many races has Bruce done, Gordon?
43.
43. The boat's done 17, and they're just stubbing their toe here a little bit. They've hit a brick wall. The breeze has dropped, as it always does in the River Derwent. Never lets you down, this river. And they'll probably have to drop the spinnaker. They're reaching sails, I think, at the moment. They're absolutely ground to a halt here. Very light. So they've come out a very good breeze, and they can see the finishing line. It's not that far away, but the breeze has dropped right off. But again, another stellar performance from this very popular sailor from Victoria, and sailors from Victoria, and navigator Kingsley Priest on his 41st race, I think. So most of the crew have done it with Bruce on various Hotsars as well.
And another interesting boat we mentioned, Happy Wanderer, I think is just about to cross the finishing line if it hasn't already done so. But some spectacular shots of them in the Derwent River. And Peter, they really support the cause of ex-veterans, Australian Defence Force veterans, providing tertiary education and mentoring opportunities for those people. And that's very much in the spirit of the Rolex Sydney Hobart, when you consider Captain John Illingworth was the Royal Navy, and he enlisted Royal Navy officers in that first boat in Rani in 1945.
Yes, he did, Gordon, that's exactly right. But this boat has been renamed for the race to Happy Wanderer. She's normally known as Vamp and races out of the Cruising Yacht Club of Australia, but she's on charter to these boys, and they've put in a pretty creditable performance, and they'll be 12th over the line.
And we were delighted to mention that the nephew of the great Alan McGilvray, the voice of Australian cricket, the grandson of Alan McGilvray, let's get it right, is on board, and thrilled to be part of the Rolex Sydney Hobart. So Alan McGilvray was the voice of cricket here in Australia for 30 or 40 years with ABC Sport.
So many stories within this race, aren't there, of relations and relatives to past race winners. We just saw that with Evie's interview there also. And like Jack Earl, one of the founding fathers of this race, he raced in the very first race. His grandson is on Love and War. Matt Tomaszewski, he's on one of the crew on Love and War. So there's history weaved all through the race. You know, there's fathers and sons, there's mothers and daughters, there's sons on some boats, others on other boats, commodores. It's a real great mix of individuals in this fleet. And
it's the history and the tradition that makes the race so special.
Absolutely.
And we saw Annika Thompson in Ocean Crusaders Jaybird, the first female skipper home. That's the third time in a row, I think, that she's been the first female skipper, named after Jane Tate, who competed in the second race in 1946.
That's right, the trophy's been struck in her memory.
Yes. Yeah. So, amazing. Yeah. All right, let's have a look at the tracker then, Peter. I know you love manipulating the tracker. And your technology now just is amazing.
I've just almost mastered this. It's taken me about 6 years, but okay. So what that's telling us is that Ecstasy is in the river, well past South Arm. Arwen's around the pot. Cocody, or Cocody, from France, is about to enter the river. And there's another boat alongside her. I think that's Denali. No, it's a Volstar Yeah Baby. Denali's further ahead. And then we go back a little bit here. I'm going up here. And there's Mistral leading a double-hander. So they've got about 20... less than that, about 20 miles to go, Mistral. The other boats, once they're in the river, about 11 miles to the finish.
Yes.
And the breeze is good down there, Gordon. Sorry to interrupt. Breeze is good, but we saw as Hotsar got close to the finish, there's a few light spots that probably have to negotiate, but it looks as though the breeze is now reasonably solid in the river and in Storm Bay. But outside the bay, if you haven't round Tasman yet, you've got a southerly now and you're on the wind. So that's a bit grim for those sort of boats. There's a couple of them still around Tasman. We've got Maritimo 100. She's around and on her way to the finish. That beautiful cruiser racer for Bill Barry Cotter, 100-footer, magnificent boat. They would have had a reasonably comfortable trip, and probably more comfortable than any other boat in the race. And well to seaward here is Oroton Drumfire. She's gone well out from Tasman Island. That's an interesting tack that she's taking. And then further back we've got Odin and Serene, and then we work further up the coast and we're sort of getting up towards Maria Island way. We've got a lot of the fleet. I'll go smaller, not larger, and we'll see a lot of the fleet up here. There's Maria, and there's a whole bunch of yachts here. Just there's the blue rum line, the straight line. There's Love and War out to sea there. Further back we've got Cinquant, Clockwork, Toe Cutter, the little toe cutter from Victoria, with designer Robert Hick on board. They're further north of Maria, then up off the Shooting Passage. Hypnotic, Audacious, Supernova, Avalanche, the two-hander for James Murchison from Sydney. And we're going back right up now. We've got this in here is Let Tiraflame. And then I'll just see if now that I've mastered this technology, Gordon, we'll go right back up here and we'll go into Bass Strait and see some of the fleet in Bass Strait. That there's the top end of Tasmania, the northeastern tip, Flinders Island. We've got Innishook there, Innishook, and they're still in Westerly. You can see those wind arrows there. There's Rum Chaser, another tiny boat. And we're going right back here. Here's Salt Lines and Sailor Moon, Blue Moon, and there's Kismet. Yep. Kismet, the smallest boat in the race. Sean Langman and Pete Itchbold. They're in Bass Strait. They're not across yet, but they're putting out a mighty performance. They've still got a long, long way to go, and I think we will. There's Kismet there. We'll probably see them probably another 2 days or so. So they'll be in 2025 finishes, I think.
They've got about 290 miles to go.
Have they? Yeah. Well, they're just over halfway. So, yeah.
Okay. Well, earlier today at the dock, we saw the presentation for the announcement, the provisional winner on handicap of the Rolex yacht race, the Sydney Hobart in 2024, and it of course goes to the Celestial V70. Sam Haynes, the CYCA Commodore. So it really was a fantastic performance by that boat, finishing just 2.5 hours behind Law Connect on line honours.
We managed to make really good gains for the first day, but we knew that our best gains would probably be Bass Strait. We had really good conditions for this boat, and also the crew, they were the right guys. That's where we sort of managed to get some really good distance, but it was absolutely nuclear out there. It was so rough, the sea state, so windy. Yeah, just limiting the number of people on deck so we could just keep the boat lit up. Just getting across there was really, really hard work, and then managing to get down the Tassie coast and around the corner, that was a lot easier when the seas flattened out. We ripped the A3 very soon after the start, and that was like a vital sail, so when that went, that was kind of like a bit disheartening, so we had to kind of reorganise how we were going to approach our route. Because it relied on the J3 a lot. So we just changed that a bit. We also had the J4, which was again a very important sail that blew up as well. So that was another sort of tactical or strategic way around that, where we had a large head sail and a very small head sail, and we had to go between the two. Yeah, really hard work for the crew. They stood up for it, and these guys they're probably the most professional crew that I've ever sailed with, although we have sailed together now for a few years. It's just a great experience being part of it all. Yeah, we're really obviously very, very pleased with it. It's a strong crew. We've been together through a lot of different sailing, and being able to perform at that level and get to the point where you're able to hold that trophy once more.
Yes, in a borrowed boat, the Willow from Jim Cooney, but blowing out the J4 and the J5, it says something about the crew.
We're still saying provisional because there is one boat still at sea that can beat her, and that is Kismet. She's got half an hour to finish and she's got 290 miles to go. So I think you could safely say that Celestial V70 will be confirmed as the overall winner very shortly.
Well, Peter, one of the most amazing stories in this race came on the first night when Porco Rosso lost their crewman, Luke Watkins, overboard. It happened at 3:14 in the morning in absolutely pitch black conditions, in very fresh conditions. It was about 40 knots and he was trapped under the boat. But some amazing seamanship by the skipper, Paul McCartney, saw that crewman rescued about 40 minutes later. Peter G is now with the skipper of Porco Rosso, so let's go down to you, Peter, to tell the story of this amazing miracle rescue.
Thanks, Gordon. Paul, great of you to drop by. How have you processed those scary moments in the darkness on the morning of the 27th?
Yes, there are flashbacks to moments and decisions made. Really just reflecting on the professionalism of the crew and how well they responded to it. An enormous sense of relief, compassion and sadness for others in the race, but a great sense of relief to be able to deliver Luke back home to his family safely.
And how's he going? I mean, he wouldn't be human if it wasn't going through his brain every sort of waking moment.
That's right. He's just lying low and taking it quietly. He bounced back within a couple of hours on board and was back to his role of tidying up the boat until we told him to stop. So there's really no stopping him. But yes, I think he's got his thoughts elsewhere for a few days, and we'll just be concentrating on home.
Can you just take us through the moment when you realised he wasn't on board?
Yeah, well, it was a good 3 or 4 minutes after the knockdown. So we came down a huge wave. At the bottom of that wave was another wave that you can't see in the dark, so you can't anticipate. And that slammed us sideways and then into a jibe. The boat was soaked in water. 3 people were washed backwards, Luke overboard, 2 jammed under the back rail. So by the time we'd got the 2 back out from under the back rail and started to get the boat under control, it was only a few minutes later that we realised that Luke wasn't with us, when he'd actually set off his emergency beacon and the navigator said, "Where's Luke?" So that's how much, I wouldn't say confusion, but that's how much was going on deck, just trying to get the boat back on its feet and upright and checking everybody.
So he's gone through the rail with his lifeline on and, as Gordon said, being trapped against the side of the boat.
Yes, and so he had to let go. It's sort of agonising decision, but you can't be forced underwater.
He had the presence of mind to actually unclip?
He had it in his other hand and had enough tension to just unclip. There is an emergency release on these life jackets that you reach under for and pull, and they also carry a knife. So there are a couple of ways of doing it, but he was actually just to be able to one hand unclip and then float away and see the boat disappear. So he actually unclipped and went under the water, and he said it was 200 metres away when he bobbed up. And then a couple of minutes later, we started to respond, started to get sails down. There was damage to the mainsail track, so getting the main down was difficult. I was actually off watch and stayed below and was directing things, getting the medical kit ready. Ollie Nicholas was on the helm, and yeah, the crew just got things done as quickly as they could. We had 3 headsails up, so we furled 2 and came round and tacked up towards Luke, and then we got the main down and then the jib down. So I mean, 4 sails to come down, a lot to do, a lot of checks, making sure there weren't lines over the stern.
And then delight when you got a visual on him?
Oh, absolutely amazement, yes, yeah. I mean, the key was the AIS beacon that got us back. It would have almost put us on top of him. Our navigator, Murray, was calling out the range and bearing, and at 500 metres we got a glimpse, and then at 400 metres we picked him up, and we didn't lose him visually after that.
That's just incredible.
Yeah.
He is a little bit of a suspicious sailor. Does he think this was bad luck or good luck that he got found and rescued?
I think he's very happy with the outcome, yes. I don't think he'll be trying to swim again, but no, he was full of praise for his, the rest of the crew. And he had done our safety briefing at 11:45 that morning. We do our safety briefing as we prepare, and he had the AIS in his hand, showing us, reminding us how to use it. We've all done it in our sea safety courses, but we had the gear in the hand, ran through the procedure, put our gear away and went racing. So
well, that just proves that practice makes perfect. Fantastic outcome, and we look forward to seeing Porco Rosso perhaps bring that great form you were showing on the harbour right through here to Sydney and lead the Tasmanian contingent perhaps in the future.
We'll be back shortly. Yes.
Good stuff. Thanks
Thank
very
you,
much,
Peter.
Paul. Cheers.
Peter, just hearing that story is staggering. I feel numb listening to how it all... Because he was on to his last breath when he was trapped underwater there for all of that time and found himself 200 metres away from the boat.
Yeah, you just got to, as you said, or Peter G said, we just congratulate the skipper and the crew for the job they did to get him back. And boy, that's one really good story that's come out of this race. It hasn't had a lot of good stories as such, but this was one of the really good stories.
And the point that Luke made, and this applies to anyone who gets into trouble in the ocean, whether you're at a surf beach and caught in a rip, is don't panic. He didn't panic, and that was the crucial thing for him.
Well, yeah, that is correct, but you put yourself in that circumstance, you really don't know how you'd react. Panic could set in straight away or stay calm, as obviously he did. But I know a few of the boys on that crew, and there's some pretty good sailors on board. And Murray Spence, the navigator, very cool, calm, collected guy, and Paul, obviously the skipper, directing operations, and they did a fantastic job.
Well, Peter, you mentioned that Maritime 100, the luxury 100-foot cruiser, Maritima, is just about to enter Storm Bay, and they have a professional chef on board, I believe, so they're doing it pretty well. But what about Oroton Drumfire? Again, this is, to me, is still the most beautiful classic boat in the race. Will Vickers, they are... I'm just trying to work out where they are at the moment. They're just entering Storm Bay.
They're well to the southeast. We just saw them on the tracker before, so not sure why they've gone so wide. That it might be a reasonable heavy headwind, so that's probably the track they're taking. But anyway, carry on. Sorry, Gordon.
Look, I think everyone watching will enjoy just getting a bit of background on this beautiful Oroton Drumfire as Evie Haseldine caught up with the skipper, Philip Neal.
I'm here on the beautiful Oroton Drumfire, truly classic 78. I'm with Philip Neal, who's done 4 Hobarts. Can you tell us a little bit about what your pre-race routine looks like in the weeks leading up to the race?
Yeah, sure. It's certainly a little bit different to the other boats, that's for sure. As you can see, it's an ocean-going cruiser with a lot of varnish and a lot of cushions and so forth, and downstairs is highly polished varnish. We have to convert all of that into a race boat, essentially. So take out all the tables upstairs, all the roof will come off, tenders go away. Inside, we pull out all the floorboards, we put racing floorboards down, core flute up all the walls to build extra bunks for crew that we have to sleep. The creature comforts come off and all the racing stuff goes on. We're not essentially trying to lighten the boat up or make it more racy. It's more for protection, actually, and just making it more functional.
Amazing. And can you tell us a little bit about who you have on board this year?
So we have a good, strong set of women on board that we're really proud of, and that we're excited to go down south with. I've had male sailors come off the boat saying, "Geez, they're as good as anyone I've actually sailed with." So, and most of them are better than you and some of your mates. That's all I basically say, because look, I'm proud to say that they're better than I am.
So Phil and I are down here in the galley and having a look at the honourable air fryer.
Well, yeah, the air fryer. It is a fantastic piece of equipment, and the crew love it. So they get nice hot sort of, snacks and things that you wouldn't otherwise be able to do in the normal cooking apparatuses that you have on a boat while you're doing the race. We do have chef-prepared meals. They're all in vacuum seal bags and so forth. But we do take pride in, as everybody knows, we do take pride in the way that we eat when we go down there. If you're not going to be the first one over the line, you might as well be eating the best.
Yes, that is certainly the way to go, Peter Shipway.
Luxury on water, isn't it? It's lovely. Beautiful boat, and great crew on board, and well sailed, and she'll be in probably 4 or 5 hours away, I'd say, perhaps 6 hours away to finish.
They didn't actually mention those champion female sailors on board. Carolyn Browers, who's I think the first woman to win an around the world race, and also Jessica Watson, the wonderful solo sailor, and Stacey Jackson. Yeah.
Was it Stacey skippered Wild Oats 10 when she got second to Alive in 2018? And, absolute talent, all those three girls as well.
And Stacey, I think, is the watch captain, and Carolyn Browers is living in Australia now, but a two-time Olympian, and also
two-time Rolex woman
female
sailor of
world
the year.
sailor of the year.
Yeah, so wow, there's some talent there.
Okay, well,
and do you know why it's called Drumfire? You'd know that, wouldn't you?
No, I don't.
It's named after a legendary racehorse, apparently.
Okay.
Yeah. And a long-distance desert racehorse.
Wow. Yeah. No, it's one I certainly haven't backed.
We'll put some money on it when we get home.
Well, another young lady who performed at the Olympic Games in Marseille in 2024, Evie Haseldine. She's out on the water at the moment on the Sail Media Cat, very close to the Iron Pot, but I think in the Derwent River, and we'll be covering a lot of these boats. So, Evie, bring us up to date with the action on the Derwent.
Yeah, thanks Gordon and shippers. I'm out here on the water. We're just alongside Arwen, which will be the third over 50-footer female skippered yacht to cross the line this afternoon. It's skippered by Sharon Ferris-Choate, who has competed in 2 Olympic Games in '96 and 2004, representing New Zealand, but she's actually Canadian born. And not only that, she's also done the Volvo Around the World Ocean Race. She sailed around the world 3 separate times, clocking over 170,000 nautical miles. So she's certainly experienced to be steering this Amoca Open 60, and they're not far now from finishing this Rolex Sydney Hobart yacht race.
That's terrific. Now, what about can you see any other boats at the moment? Because there are quite a few that now have passed the Iron Pot.
Yeah, that's right. So we went past Hotsar, who likely has now finished, and Happy Wanderers on our way out. Both of them we saw go through quite variable breeze in the river. At the moment we're still following Arwen with this southwesterly super patchy up and down pressures, maybe anywhere from what we're in now 8 knots to 18 when we were just further out a little bit before, and we watched Hotsar actually lower their Jenica and have to turn around and sail upwind in the new north-northeast direction to get to the finish line. So definitely the final test for these boats as they come through the River Derwent.
Okay, well, thank you, Evie. I don't know why, Gordon, I ever predict the weather. I think I should know better than predicting the weather. Every time we go to a shot, I say the breeze is in, but as Evie said, the breeze is now out, and you can see the slow progress that Arwen is making up the river towards the John Garrow, which she leaves to port, and picked up a bit of speed there, but nothing like the breeze we saw about 20 minutes ago. It's a tough place, this Derwent, or River Derwent. But Arwen's, she's 22 years old, the boat. It was built as an Amoca 60 before the foils came into vogue, and she was built for Mike Golding as a Cova 2 and to race in the Volvo Round the World race. And you can just see the crew, fairly docile conditions there, and she is a very solid boat and would have enjoyed the tough conditions, very so that she's got through them in pretty good shape, obviously.
And that is Sharon on the helm. She's having a bit to say at the moment. And
well, you'd want to listen to her. She's obviously well credentialed.
Oh boy, that was beautifully explained, I thought, by Evie. And in that Jules Verne race, she was actually on the helm when the 90-foot catamaran poleaxed down a massive wave in the middle of the night, and they had to actually cut the rigging free. It took them 8 hours.
Yeah, I think Adrian Carlin was on that.
Adrian Carlin was the navigator on board. That was over 20 years ago, and she said that's one of the most horrendous moments in her illustrious sailing career. But she's been involved with the maiden campaign as well, with Tracy Edwards very much involved.
Boy, it's getting light here now, Gordon. Look at this. She's breezes quit and she's just barely making headway. So there's still a bit to play, and every year it's very much the same here at this river.
Well, that must, it was a little more expansive, I think, when you finished in 1974 on Love and War. You're only just 5 or 6 years out of school. You did your first race on Cavalier on a 30-footer in 1968.
That's correct, yeah.
And
I did 3 on Cavalier, actually.
And then you became involved with this wonderful boat, Love and War, which is still out there at the moment, a 3-time winner of the race. And Shippo, it's almost the, I guess, the second love of your life, Love and War. I know it's very close to your heart.
Well, it is. It's probably the best love I've got on water.
Oh, I'm glad you qualified that. Yeah.
Yeah, look, it's a very special boat and holds some great memories for me, and still going well. It's still out there, and it'll be home in about another 24 hours or so. But yeah, she's a terrific boat.
Well, we're going to be a bit self-indulgent now, and I'm going to hand over to Lisa Darmanin.
I'm here aboard Love and War with the legend himself, Peter Shipway. Who better to give me a history lesson on this boat than you?
Yes, it's a special boat, Lisa, that's for sure. It was built 51 years ago, won 3 Hobart races, and I was fortunate enough to be involved right from the word go. Did the first Hobart on this boat in 1973, and then was fortunate enough to be on board in 74 and 78 when we won the Tattersall Cup.
Talk us through those races. I mean, back then, what was the Hobart like? Was it a real tough battle to get those wins?
Well, it was, and there's nothing like the sophistication we've got now with the weather modelling and all the routing systems. We had nothing like that. We just used to cut the weather out of the Sydney Morning Herald on the morning of the race and do our best.
Ballyhoo edges past Love and War. Both crews tense, coaxing those last fractions of speed from the weakest of winds.
In 74, we weren't the favourite. Bumblebee 3 had arrived from America. Super Yacht had cleaned everything up, and we went very much into that race as a non-favourite. But we had a real ace up our sleeve, and that was the legendary Magnus Halverson. He was the navigator that we acquired for that race, and he was the Bradman of the Sydney Hobart race. He'd 5 wins he had, and line honours wins. No one has won more races than Magnus, and he was a very thoughtful man. Didn't say much, but when he spoke, it was one of those persons you listen to. Big man, 6 foot plus and 15 stone, and the message he gave us right here in this cockpit, 50 years ago, almost to the day, he said, don't get jammed on the Tassie coast. That was his message, simple as that, meaning don't close the coast too early. And what happened was that Bumblebee 3 did close the coast too early. Well, we were 50 miles to seaward and rushing along in a 20-knot westerly, and we caught Bumblebee and we won the race. It was a wonderful thrill, and because as a youngster growing up, you look at the race and you think, wow, to do it is one thing, and then to win it, something special.
So incredible. And the boat also won in 2006 with Lindsay May at the helm, who has his own incredible history with the race, and the boat's still in it to win it, I guess.
Absolutely. I mean, it's been one of Olin Stevens, who designed the boat along with his firm, Sparkman & Stevens, he's often said that this design, and there was a few sister ships, is one of the best designs he's ever had, and it has stood the test of time. I mean, we won in 74, and then 3 years ago the boat got 3rd overall. So it's transversed all these rating systems, the IOR, the IMS, and now IRC, and it's still competitive. And I mean, if there's going to be a hard wind with thrash, this boat will be up there because it's got a very good handicap rating. Light winds, it's an Achilles heel, either upwind or downwind, but yeah, it's still very competitive. And after 51 years, it's an amazing tribute to the designers.
And there's a lot of family history here involved as well.
That's right, yeah. Well, Peter, who's sadly passed now, Peter Kurtz, he had the boat built, and then when Simon, his son, was old enough, he went to Hobart, and now Simon's son Philip is skippering the boat to Hobart. So 3 generations of skippers. That's special too. Yeah.
Incredible history. Well, thanks for taking me through the lesson, and I think we might head on downstairs and have a look as well.
Lovely, thanks.
So here we are downstairs getting ready for Hobart. So there's a bit going on, but yeah, talk us through it.
Well, this side we've got the little galley, which is a 3-burner metho stove, which is almost the original. That's what we had when he started in 1973. It's a newer version since then. And then over this side we've got the navigation area. Got some lockers up there for crew lockers, for crew gear. This is the Navigatorium. It's not hugely big, but
bigger than some.
Bigger than some. It gets the job done. And then we've got a harness to keep the navigator in. If we're on the...
Oh, wow.
He straps himself in there. And
if you're on the heel.
Yeah, if you're on a port tack, he straps himself and sits in there. And we've got a similar one on this side for the cook, if he's got to fall out. So we've got all bases covered. And there's 6 bunks here. Was it a crew of 10? So enough bunks for everyone. And it's the sort of boat in this day and age you don't sleep to windward necessarily, because it doesn't make any difference. So you can sleep to leeward, and it's a very dry boat. Sails come here on the floorboards, they come after the mast. That's a new addition, a table, which is for cruising, but we leave it on for racing. And then up forward we've got all the sails that are stacked there now, but we pull them all back for racing, so the weight's in the middle of the boat.
Good boat, good comfort. Sounds like a nice ride to Hobart.
It is a nice ride, really. If you're going to windward, it'd be great, but who knows, downwind's a bit hairy.
Amazing. Thank you so much, shippers. I'm enjoying learning a lot from you, so thanks for taking us through Love and War.
Good, thanks, Lisa.
Yes, Peter Shipway, I've got to say that was a very nostalgic journey for you. If I go all the way back to 1974, I think this is a shot of you after you just won the race in 1974.
That's scary, isn't it, really?
Yeah. What's with the muzza?
It's painted on. I didn't have one. That's painted on.
It was the fashion of the day.
How anyone could think that looks good, I don't know. Yeah. But anyway, it was the fashion in that era. And I think there's a few other people that had moustaches that I knew pretty well around about that time. But boy, it's hideous, isn't it?
Around about that time, I was heading off to the Commonwealth Games in Christchurch for the ABC.
Have a look at this.
So there you go. Yeah. Now, I was based in Hobart at that stage. So... and I believe someone's trying to turn the clock back. Our hype editor, Hamish Powell. Now look at that. So really, maybe we need to think about
back, do you think?
Movember next year round.
Yeah, well, you start and I'll finish, good.
But Peter, seriously, it's 50 years since you came up the Derwent River in that southerly to clinch the overall prize in 1974. Where's the time gone?
Well, that's right. Where has it gone? But still got great memories of that. We came up the river, we set a spinnaker, we got absolutely flattened by the breeze coming down over Mount Wellington. We had to get the spinnaker off in a bit of a hurry because we were getting pretty close to the shore. And then just as we got into Sandy Bay area, Peter Kurtz, the skipper, and I was the youngest crew member, he said, I want you to steer the boat over the line. So that was a great thrill and something you'll never forget. And we got across the line, and as the days had it, then we weren't sure. We only had 2 skeds a day, so nothing like the sophistication we've got with computer systems now, where you know where every boat is. We didn't really know where everyone was. We knew we'd beaten Bumblebee 3, the red hot favourite, and we thought the smaller boats were far enough back that we could win. And it wasn't really till 24 hours after the finish that we knew that we'd won the race overall.
And what a thrill for Peter Kurtz.
Yeah.
And then you backed up again 4 years later.
Yeah, we did in 78.
And then Lindsay May as skipper in 2006.
That's correct, yeah.
Yeah. So what about this French boat, Peter? Cocody. They've travelled a long way to be part of the race, and I think they're just about into the Derwent now, aren't they?
Well, she's a design, a JPK 1180, the same as Buckenhall that we spoke to the navigator Tom Barker earlier today, who had to withdraw with a broken boom. This Cocody's got a fantastic record. She won her division in the transatlantic race, where she sailed from La Risotto across to the Caribbean, did the Caribbean 600, won her class there, and then sailed from the Caribbean through the Panama Canal down to Australia to compete in this Rolex Sydney Hobart race. 17,000 miles, I think, in total they've travelled to get here, and they've put in a very creditable performance in a race that really didn't suit the smaller boats, as evidenced by the overall handicap positions.
So I think they've just passed the iron pot. So the French crew with 1 Australian on board, and I think we're about to meet him. Let's hear from Lisa Darmanin.
I'm joined by Richard, the owner and skipper of Cocody. And Richard, with your team, it's mostly French, but I hear you have an Australian navigator.
Yes.
Do you have a local to help you out?
Yes, we have a local navigator. We believe that it's a good idea to have a local sailor.
I'll just be the token Aussie. I'm Cocody. So I ate Frenchies and myself.
And how is his French? Can he speak French?
Moi, je parle français.
Oui, tu parles français, mais le navigator?
Steve don't speak French, only some words. A drink, you know.
The English on board is actually quite good. I think I'm relying on their English skills a lot more than they're relying on my French skills, which is probably a good thing. Although I've had some high scores on Duolingo recently, so so that's good. But yeah, there are a lot of terms in sailing, especially the profanities, which are quite universal. So I think we'll get on quite well, and we'll understand each other.
Yes, Steve Taylor, the one Australian, the navigator, spoke to him at the CYC, and it is a dangerous sport, and he actually lost the top of 2 fingers, Peter, got it caught in a block.
Yeah.
But he's still very much involved in this Cocody crew.
Yeah, well, it would be great. She's currently leading her Division 3 on IRC, clearly by about 11 hours. So all she's really got to do is get in, and she could win the division, and that would be a fantastic performance and a great thrill to come all that way. Can't win it overall. She'll be probably 8th or 9th overall in the handicap, but a divisional winner, which would be a great, I'm sure, excitement for that crew that have come so far to do this great race.
Well, yeah, it's been quite a journey. I think they had a skeleton crew bringing the boat out, but then the owner flew out and they had a lovely holiday in Tahiti, which is the way to do it. But they're heading into beautiful Castray Esplanade at the moment, and Evie Haseldine is on the spot on the Australian on the camera boat.
Yeah, thanks, Gordon. They're not quite at Castray Esplanade yet. They've just passed the Iron Pod, so we still have about 11 nautical miles for them to go before they reach the finish line. Behind me is Kingston Beach, and as I said before, the wind is super up and down in here, so it's a bit tricky for the crew. The easy part of this last stretch is all is on one tack for them, so we're coming up now trying to race to them, the 15th, 16th and 17th boats to cross the finish line. And as you said, Cocody on the leaderboard, the top of the leaderboard for the IRC Division 3. And yeah, a fantastic package there from Lisa. One thing that was mentioned just before that as well, before the camera started rolling, was that the boat had to have a lot of new stuff put on, as when they arrived to Sydney they'd already clocked so many miles even getting to the start line, so a lot of effort for the team to be competing in this race.
About those conditions at the moment, it looks delightful. Obviously they'd love a little bit more breeze, Evie, but your estimation that these boats can get home in the next hour?
Yeah, Gordon, it might be an hour or a little bit longer because, as I said, we have seen so much variability in the wind that they could reach John Garrow and the wind die and swing to that northwest direction again right just before the finish line. So, yeah, it's super unknown, I guess, what time these boats might get in.
Yeah, well, you can see four yachts there, and we're not 100% sure that they're all Rolex Sydney Hobart contestants, because, as you said earlier, there's other races going on from the west coast and from Launceston as well. But they've got good pressure, all those boats, to see the streaks of wind coming down to those boats. The first two from the left, they've got really good pressure, and they're just heading up into that pressure, and still got a long way to go to the finish, but clearing sky behind them, which probably is a good sign. Clouds are blowing away, and maybe that breeze has got a bit into the south or southwest, and giving them a really good quick skip up the river now. But as Evie said, that get to the John Garrow and things change quite dramatically. But there's the streakiness of the water. You can see the wind, the dark spots of the wind pressure, and the lighter spots down pressure. But they're just coming up very quickly. That's a great shot, looking back down the River Derwent to the Iron Pot. So they've still got a fair way to go, but see those streaks of wind coming down across the river, and
the odd little white cap too.
Yeah, the nice breeze where they're heading into, and this boat, leading boat, is really getting along at a very good clip. And I think this is, I think it is Cocody. Looking at the hull colour, she's a dark blue boat, and that looks pretty dark blue to me, Gordon. She'll have a French sail number, FRA 53081. Is that her? We're just coming close. I think it is. Looks like her design profile. But I've been caught out before, Gordon. I'm not saying that it is her, but I'm pretty sure it is. And good breeze. But anyway, whatever boat it is, making very good time up towards the next turning point and the final turning point in the race, which of course is the John Garrow Shoals, and marked by the John Garrow light. And we're just having a look now. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's our French friends. A nice trim on the sail, just reaching along. And that is Bacchanal, Cocody, the sister ship to Bacchanal. That's her, that name on the side. Is it? No, I don't think it is.
Quest.
It's Quest, no, okay. For once I was wrong, Gordon. It is same hull colour, but Quest, not in the Hobart race. So she's obviously a West Coaster or
Launceston.
Launceston
to Hobart, yeah.
So she's Quest. There's been a number of Quest yachts. As Quest has won the Hobart twice, the Hobart race, the Sydney Hobart race, a yacht called Quest. But we hope to pick up Cocody shortly. Evie and the boys are trying to get down to her quickly and pick up some footage of her coming up the river.
Pete, just looking out the back here, it's going to be a bit tricky. The breeze is lightening off. It seems to be moving around.
Yeah, well,
and that's the French boat. That's Cocody.
There she is. They've set us up for a trap there, but anyway, we've got it right now. Yeah, we should see the green Rolex flag and the French tricolour flying under the Rolex flag, and they'd be very happy to get here. This little boat that's come all this way, furthest south it's ever been now into Hobart, but good speed also. Just trailing Quest from the another race. There she is. Got a little flying jib up, and the crew nicely placed on the rail, and I think that they would be looking forward to getting into this race, and they'll have some stories to tell when they get back to France. I'm sure of that. See, twin rudders these modern boats have, that when the boat heels, the leeward runner or the rudder, the one furthest away from the top sides, gets good grip in the water. Conventional boats of the years only had single rudders, but now more and more of these modern boats have twin rudders. The winning boat, Celestial V70, twin rudders. Law Connect, twin rudders, just to give better control when the boats are heeled.
Steve Taylor, the navigator, was telling us that the French sailors are mainly solo sailors. They're top-notch people, and 17,000 nautical miles. They're going to win the trophy for the most travelled boat.
Yeah. Well, here's Evie right alongside them. What are we seeing, Evie? They've got good pace, haven't they?
Yeah, certainly. They have the breeze back in again. We've got maybe 15 or 16 knots now, and Cocody coming in a little bit of a heel with 3 sails up, and certainly these guys have done a lot of miles in what seems to be not a very big boat, actually. So they're not far now from finishing this part of their journey.
Yeah, it's a JPK 1180, so 39 feet.
11.8 metres, yes, exactly.
Yeah.
But you were mentioning the French crews and how proficient they are in the world of sailing. I mean, they have got actual educational schools to teach them sailing, mainly the shorthand or double-handed or single-handed sailing. And most of these guys, instead of going to high school and learning how to count, they're going to school to learn how to sail. And it's really dragging the French ability and crews up to a world-class level. And at the moment we've got the Vendée Globe single-handed around their world race underway. It's started in late November. They've just rounded Cape Horn. The 2 leaders are 23 miles apart. They're 2 Frenchmen in the Vendée Globe race. They're going back to La Sable d'Olonne in France. They've got about 5,000 miles to go, and that 60 footers with foils. single-handed. I mean, these French guys, mainly, there's a few Englishmen, few Italians, but it's mainly dominated by the French. And a lot of these guys here that we're seeing on Cocody have come through those schools of education and how to sail.
So if you'd had your time again, Peter, you probably would have taken that option instead of wasting your time at Vaucluse Boys High.
Well, perhaps I would have, and a lot of people are now emigrating, not French, but to these schools to learn the rules of sailing. But it's not only sailing, it's to learn how to service a motor, to learn how to rig, to learn how to navigate, to learn how to measure boats, to learn how to make sails. It's the whole gamut of how you get the job done on a boat. And we're looking now at Denali. Well, it looks as though Denali under trysail and a double head rig there. Damien Parks she is one of the early TP52s. Parksy, a good regular competitor in the Sydney Hobart race. I'd say they've broken their boom there. Denali's on its 4th race to Hobart. They broke their boom in the race from up to Hamilton Island recently, and they had to have that repaired. But
that's the boom sitting on the port side, isn't it?
It looks like it,
yeah.
And wonder how long she's been under trysail. She was up in the top 10 on line honours early in the race about 24 hours ago, so that is obviously severely hampered them with, you can just see that tiny trysail that she's got up at the moment. But still reasonable speed with a 2 headsails up. But that's a disappointment for Denali and certainly very costly in her performance.
And Damien in his 39th Rolex Sydney Hobart. Yeah, so that's the option when you do break something. I think Sunrise a couple of years ago when they broke their boom, they did some reinforcing and finished the race.
Well, she was a sister ship to Cocody, Sunrise. She'd won a Fastnet race, and you're exactly right. They broke the boom, strapped it all up. I think they had to cut the bunks up and strap it around the boom, and great seamanship. And, to finish this race like that, I mean, well done to them. They didn't quit, they didn't throw it in, and even though progress is slow now with that small trysail up, and it's getting a bit slower because the breeze is getting lighter, but well done to them.
So just recapping then, 12 boats have now finished. The last boat to finish, Happy Wanderer, that's to be confirmed, I must say. And we've got Ecstasy, Arwen, Denali, Cocody, and also Volstar, Yeah Baby. I think should just about be in the Derwent now, having passed the Iron Pot. And we're keeping an eye out for Mistral, who's in Storm Bay, Rupert Henry, the leader in the double-handed division, and at the moment looking to be about 23 miles or so from the finishing line. So he's going to get a very big welcome when he hits the port here in Hobart.
Yes, indeed. So we might just quickly update all the divisional positions at this stage. We'll go to the IRC, that's the International Rating Certificate System. That's for the overall prize. That's the system where the boat's measurements, their weight, the sail area, height of mast is put in the computer.
Their age as well?
There is an age allowance, correct, and that comes up with a handicap factor that we're seeing out there under handicap. So what happens is that the elapsed time is multiplied by your handicap and arrive at a corrected time, and the boat with the lowest corrected time is the winner. So that's the overall position: Celestial, Law Connect and Wild Thing 100. Division 0, which are the big boats, is Celestial, Law Connect and Wild Thing, exactly the same as the overall. Division 1, most of those boats have finished. Caro, Smuggler and Ocean Crusaders Jaybird will be 3rd. Division 2, this now gets a little bit tricky because a lot of these boats haven't finished, but at the moment Hotsar is leading, and Volstar Yeah Baby is 2nd. She can't beat Hotsar, but Cyrene can beat Hotsar if it finishes by 07. That's 7 o'clock tonight. So she's got 46 miles to go in 2 and a bit hours. She can't do that. So I would think pretty sure that Hotsar will win Division 2, which will be a great performance once again by that crew. Division 3, we're getting down to the smaller boats here. Cocody is leading from Ragtime and Joker ×2. She's a double-handed boat, and at the moment she's got a huge differential over here on corrected time. None of these boats are finished. She's 11 hours ahead on the estimated time of finish. Division 4, we're getting down here to Mistral. Rupert Henry, a clear leader again by 6 hours from one of Tasmania's favourites, Midnight Rambler, Eddie Saltus, and Toe Cutter, a little boat from Melbourne. So they're 1, 2 and 3, all provisional of course because they're still at sea. Then we get down into the smaller boats and the older boats. Disco Trooper, Contender Sailcloth, Jules Hall and Yarns Shulton, another double-hander. They're leading that division. Love and War, perennially in the handicap positions in division. She's second, and Jupiter, a double-hander, is third. Then we move into the PHS division. That's the Performance Handicap division. These are the boats that have opted not to race IRC. Because they go into a system that is based on algorithms based on their previous race records and sailing records throughout the year, and that system shows that Just Far Love is leading, and she's got a 6-hour gap over Journeyman Flap White and La Tiraflan. Now Just Far White is a cruiser racer 51-foot phare design from Scott Lovell from Tasmania. The boat was built by Binks Boats in South Australia for Scott's father, but they've still got a long way to go. So then we'll break that into divisions. Division 1 is headed by Mako out of New South Wales, and Oroton Drumfire, who we saw that lovely piece on before, and she won the overall PHS last year, but she's second in her division, and another chapter is in third spot. But all these boats, as I say, still at sea, so things could change. And then Division 2 is Just Far Love, who's the overall leader in PHS. Journeyman Flat White is second, and La Tiraflan is third. But they're the divisional places, and that's a good performance from Just Far Love, based obviously on the race design, the boat designer's name, Bruce Farr. So that just gives you an overview of some of the divisions that are playing out in this race.
Okay, there you go then. Let's just remind you, this is day 4 of the 2024 Rolex Sydney Hobart Yacht Race, and we have, as mentioned, quite a few boats now are in the river and heading towards the finish at Castray Esplanade, and namely Ecstasy, Arwen, Denali, Cocody and Volstar Yeah Baby, which won the Noakes Sydney Gold Coast race this year.
I'll just interrupt there, Gordon. Look at the speed now that Cocody's picked up there. The camera boat's alongside her, and she's really got the wick turned up. And the breeze looks reasonably steady ahead of her, but she's got to negotiate the last mile or so. But when we're looking behind us, it doesn't look that promising at the moment. But nonetheless, there's Denali, bottom right there. Oh, here's Volstar Yeah Baby. Big wide-bodied boat. And this boat, Gordon, actually, in the very first two-handed Sydney Hobart race, she was raced by two Tasmanians, Robbie Goff and John Soyle, and they won line honours in the double-handed division in 2019. And she's a very wide-body boat, twin rudders again. And as you said earlier, she won the recent Sydney to Gold Coast race, a 380-mile race, was a hard-reaching race all the way, and she astounded everyone with the speed that she had downwind. So the first day of this race she would have enjoyed, but obviously things got a bit rough for her across Bass Strait, excuse me, as it did for all the fleet. But she looks nicely rigged there, nice speed, just motoring up the river, and a good angle of breeze for her.
And the identical twins.
That's right,
yes.
Yeah, the Rickman twins. And here's Denali, triple head rig now. He's got a flying jib up. Old Parksy, a Genoa and a Staysail, and they've got good breeze with that little trysail up, which is the Storm mainsail, if you like, used in storm conditions, and there's a storm jib. Every boat compulsorily has to carry these unless they can reef the mainsail down very low, but most boats carry these trysails. They're difficult to get up because you're putting them up in a huge amount of wind. And some boats opt to have big, deep reefs in the mainsail, so they don't have to put a trysail up. And they're just reasonable breeze there, and that's a great shot while the drone is giving us. We're almost in Parksy's cockpit there, and she's looking ahead at Cocody. And the sky clearing, beautiful afternoon now with the sun out in Hobart. It's even a little bit warmer, Gordon, than it was certainly early this morning.
Well, this certainly makes it all worthwhile when you can finish in a nice breeze in the Derwent and a bit of sunshine just to keep that temperature on an even keel. But a reminder that we'll be back again at 10 a.m. in the morning, and we have our live update, our live streams from the Rolex Race Village at 10 o'clock and 4 o'clock every day. CYCA TV YouTube, Rolex Sydney Hobart on Facebook, and the website rolexsydneyhobart.com. So that's the splendid scene here as we're about to sign off. And I must tell you, we have to say goodbye to Peter Shipway. Peter, you're leaving us for a wedding.
I am, yes.
How many's that?
What, that I've been to or had? No, I'm, yes, I'm lucky to be invited.
That was earlier when you were
unmarried.
Unmarried, yes.
And why would anyone marry that? But no, I've been delighted to go. Wife and I are going to a wedding tomorrow afternoon in Sydney, so I'm out of here tomorrow morning. But I'd just like to say to you, Gordon, thank you. It's been a pleasure as always with you, and your attention to detail as always has been phenomenal, and it's been a real pleasure. To Pete G as well. I think he's probably stepping in here tomorrow, and he'll probably...
That's a bit dangerous, you know, a blue chip replacement. You may not be invited back next year.
These things happen. But also to Dave Flower and all the team from Hype Media. I mean, it's phenomenal what goes on behind the scenes here, and Dave runs it seamlessly, and all the boys and his team, a fantastic thank you to them, because it's really been a privilege to work here, and obviously it's a privilege to work on this great race, the Rolex Sydney Hobart race. I think you and I are very privileged, Gordon, to be front and centre of it, but behind the scenes there's a lot of work goes on to bring this to you, and also a lot of work goes on behind the scenes at the yacht clubs, CYC, the organising authority, and the partner in the Royal Yacht Club of Tasmania. But thank you for your kind words, and just finally again to the families and friends that lost those two sailors, deepest sympathy from me personally on behalf of all the yachtsmen that raced this year in the Rolex Sydney Hobart. We wish you all the very best in very tough times, and a happy new year to everyone, and let's hope it brings a lot of health and happiness to you all. So thanks again, Gordon.
Beautifully spoken, Peter. Yes, we are going to miss you, but please don't miss our coverage starting at 10 o'clock tomorrow morning. I'll be joined here in the Rolex Race Village by Peter G, and we'll continue on and bring all of these other boats home. So safe return for all of the fleet in this year's race, and please join us again tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock local time. This has been a Hype TV production.